An emaciated Eddie Brock slowly trudges through the hospital, thinking of his past. His years at the Daily Globe, where he was young, healthy, and happy. The scandal that ruined his life thanks to Peter Parker. His attempted suicide that was interrupted by the Venom symbiotes, also Parker's fault. Becoming a supervillain only to get beaten down by Spider-Man time after time. His cancer diagnosis. Haven't figured out how Parker's responsible for that yet, but I will. He sold off the Venom symbiote to raise money for charity. One last act of good. He attempted to end it all after he learned the new Venom was killing people indiscriminately. But somehow, Eddie's still here, dying in slow motion. He spends his days shambling through the hospital, hooked up to his IV. His nights are worse. He's on the terminal ward and can't sleep, haunted by memories. And by the voice of the Venom symbiote, a voice that never leaves him.
Did you think you'd be able to get rid of me that easily? Well, guess what, mister? I'm too good for you. You may have sold me like cattle, but I'm under your skin, Eddie Brock. A part of me will always be under your skin. So now I'm just waiting for you to die and for the doctors to perform an autopsy and slice you open and set me free.
But Eddie's still here, and he starts to wonder why. Why isn't he dead yet? Why has fate spared him for so long? And eventually, he sees it on the hospital TV. Peter revealing his identity as Spider-Man to the whole world. The symbiote voice laughs, relishing Spidey's return to the black outfit. But finally, chillingly, Eddie sees something on one of his trips through the hospital. Aunt May, Mary Jane Watson Parker, standing over her. Peter's whole family is right here, delivered to one of his greatest foes. Eddie tries desperately to run away from the temptation, but the Venom voice stays with him, taunting him. This is what they've been waiting for. That night, alone in his hospital room, Eddie Brock kneels down by the side of his bed. And desperately, fervently, he prays for guidance. He tried to be a hero as Venom, to protect the lives of the innocent. But the family of his greatest enemy, the man who ruined his life, are right here. A final chance for vengeance has been handed to him, even as he's dying in the hospital. And the symbiotes won't let him pass that up. To Venom, at this point, no one is innocent. Not really. That's something for someone else to decide. They're just here to do the harvesting. Eddie tries to protest, but the symbiote isn't listening to him. It towers over Brock, demanding that he do this, that with his few remaining days, he does something significant.
You were given a gift once, a chance to be extraordinary, and you threw it away, auctioned it off. I'll be damned if I'm gonna let you throw this one away.
And Eddie is more on board with this than he'd like to admit. Since Peter started wearing a new black costume, they've been available in shops all over New York. So he ordered one. It's cheap nylon. It's loose on Eddie's emaciated body, but it's the one shot he has at power. The symbiote cracks its knuckles. It's time for Venom to go hunting. He heads up to the roof, taking in the nightlife. Eddie's still feeling weak thanks to the cancer, and the symbiote's power is gone, but its voice is starting to encourage him. He can have that life back. He's even calling Eddie partner now and tells him to get back to his room. They need some practice. A nurse comes in, ready with his medicine. She tries to wake up the sleeping Mr. Brock, pulling up his blankets. Underneath, however, there's nothing but pillows. Eddie's been lurking in the shadows instead, still wearing his costume. The nurse is naturally surprised by this. She asks Eddie what he's doing. Rather than explain, he pulls a knife. Shaking, the nurse tries to tell Eddie to put the blade down, but he insists that's not his name, bringing the scalpel up high. Down in reception, the hospital staff pause. The vacuum blurs the sound a little, but one of the reception workers, Trish, could swear she heard some kind of scream. And back in Eddie's room, poor Nurse Sims is laying in a pool of her own blood. Eddie pants, still nervous about this. It wasn't easy, but now it's done.
Well, and what are we feeling? Guilt? Remorse?
No.
No, that's right, because she deserved it, didn't she? For interrupting your sleep as often as she did. for taking your blood and always missing your veins, for the condescending pity in her eyes whenever she looked your way.
Yes. Venom roars in glee at this. His partner's back and ready to murder. Eddie is still nervous at the thought of killing May Parker, but the symbiote isn't going to let him back down now. And Eddie seemingly made up his mind to follow along. Venom grins. It won't be long now. Eddie heads to the comatose May Parker's room, a borrowed doctor's coat over his costume. The symbiote is whispering in his ear, urging him to hurry up. Eddie looks down at the old woman. May's not moving an inch. She can't even breathe without the equipment here. Eddie slowly puts his own mask back on.
Well, what are you waiting for?
Nothing.
Why isn't she dead yet?
Shut up, I'm trying to. I can't concentrate. Eddie rips the mask off as Venom taunts him. Killing her should be easy. There's so many ways to slay a defenseless old woman. Eddie screams at his inner voice to shut up, accusing Venom of not letting him think. But can he even think? The symbiote's always had some control over Eddie, and it's convinced it can make him do as he's told. Down the hospital hallway, Peter Parker's spider sense goes off. He races to May's room, calling for her, only to find Eddie Brock sitting by the window. May's fine. Eddie was able to resist the symbiote's orders. He's not very coherent, weak, and strained, but he's happy about this. He cut the last remaining traces of the symbiote out of his body. I've done terrible things, Peter, but I'm not a terrible person. And now, finally himself, Eddie takes a step backwards, throwing himself out of the hospital window. He falls towards the ground, finally content with death. But two web lines shoot out from the window Eddie just left. Brock blacks out. When he wakes up, he's back in his bed. Spidey saved him. Unfortunately, Venom's still in his head. Eddie wasn't really able to get the symbiote traces out. Still, he's fine with that. Now he knows he can control that voice. It can speak, but he's in charge. He even improves enough to leave the hospital and applies for an Oscorp clinical trial. The interviewer turns him down cold. Venom shows him the image of black muscled hands strangling the woman who refuses to save his life. But Eddie walks away. Venom's been dragging him down for so long. He can't even see his own reflection. Every time, it's just the symbiote. Eddie's got one plan for his final days. Working at the feast shelter to try and do some good, make up for his life. He's even helping May Parker and her boss, Martin Lee. Eddie staffs the kitchen, making and serving food for the homeless. It's hard work, but it's rewarding and comforting to be accepted by the last family I'll ever have. That's all I've got left. Still, his charity work isn't always easy. One of the shelter residents, Mike, is tough to deal with. Rude, insulting, dismissive. And today, right after Eddie was told he won't get life-saving treatment, Mike pushes a food tray back at him, insulting the meal the former villain made by hand. And Eddie snaps.
What right do you have to be so relentlessly ungrateful? Do you think your life is over now because you're homeless? Has poor Mike convinced himself the future looks bleak? Is that it? Do you want to know what bleak is? Do you get to live, Mike? Do you have cancer? Are you gonna die soon? Well!
A word from Mr. Lee brings Eddie back to reality. He figures that he just hallucinated again, but no. This time, he gave in to temptation and beat Mike bloody, breaking his glasses. May wrings her hands, worried about what just happened. Eddie breaks away from his friends, running for the door and muttering his apologies. He just keeps moving through the rain-soaked streets, falling to the ground. In a puddle, he still sees the face of the symbiote. He's still angry, still vicious, and now everyone in his workplace knows what he's really like. Even later, when he's waiting for his regular checkup, Eddie's a mess. He can see Venom out of the corner of his eye almost constantly at this point. The symbiote lurking in every reflection. He's slowly dying of cancer. His second chance is gone. He doesn't even want a cure now. He just wants this all to be over. But his doctor has surprisingly good news for him. Eddie being turned down for that Oscorp trial was actually a good thing. He brings Eddie over to the sink.
Eddie, I want you to look in that mirror and tell me what you see.
Eddie doesn't want to, but eventually he looks, and his eyes go wide.
Because I see a man totally without cancer. Congratulations, Mr. Brock.
Himself. No symbiotes. No cancer. The doctor can't even explain this, but it's beyond remission. He's in perfect health. The cancer's just gone. A stunned Eddie thanks the doctor, but he just tells the man to go and live a good long life. And Eddie absolutely plans to do just that. In no time, he's back at Feast, still unable to believe what's just happened. The world looks brighter, happier. Smiling, Eddie calls out to May and Martin, eager to let them know that he's somehow been cured. They're both happy for him, this morning's incident forgotten. Eddie's crying in joy, not able to believe what's happened. Ultimately, he's overcome by his feelings, Martin Lee leading him away and leaving the front of house to May. The pair head into Lee's office. Eddie's still amazed at what's happening. The cancer's gone. Venom's gone. Everything that's been hanging over him has just vanished. He's free, and I don't know why. The life I've led, the things I've done, I don't know what I did to deserve.
Eddie, it's been my experience that you don't question the miracles and magic in life. You just enjoy them.
You know, I rarely bring people into this room. It's my private sanctuary, and believe it or not, I found some magic here too. See this board? I have it set up for a game of Go. Every day or so, I make a move with one of the white pieces, and don't laugh, some mornings I unlock the door and come in to find that a move's been made with a black one. I can't explain where my opponent comes from. Maybe I'll never know. But here's what I've learned. It's okay to enjoy the game. Unfortunately, a threat is lurking in the shadows outside. The new Venom, Mac Gargan, bursts through the outer wall of Feast, calling out for Spider-Man. The shelter's inhabitants reel, running away for dear life. May's scared, but Lee tells people to stay calm. This Venom's a member of the Thunderbolts, a government-licensed hero. They just need to stand back and stay out of his way.
Yes, you heard the man. I'm one of the good guys. Who wants an autograph? Who wants a picture? Who wants a hug?
Crack!
Venom keeps smashing his way through the shelter. He can feel Spider-Man's presence somewhere here. But instead, he finds the other former symbiote host, Eddie Brock, hiding behind a door. Eddie tries to run, but Venom grabs him. At first, Mac Venom laughs at the squirming man, but then things start to go wrong. The symbiote, jumping to Eddie, even as its current host, insists the alien belongs to him now. As the black costume tries to take Eddie back, however, a strange white foam starts to froth out of his arm. He's got no idea what could be causing this. Venom screams that the white substance is burning him, bewildered that powerless Eddie could somehow hurt them.
We are Venom! You can't!
Kadam!
You are the thing that led me into darkness. You're a poison, a disease, and I'm the cure.
The people of Feast look on in shock as Anti-Venom stands tall, ready to take down this violent invader and protect his newfound family. He slams the symbiote right through a wall, Venom too shocked to even react. The damage weakens the ceiling, the roof almost falling on a kid named Tyler. Thankfully, May Parker pulls the boy out of the way before he's crushed beneath the rubble. Eddie checks to see if she's okay, but May chews him out. This fight could easily get someone killed. Anti-Venom hadn't thought that through. Venom takes advantage of his doubt to sucker punch him, but thankfully, Spidey's finally shown up to help. He keeps knocking Venom back towards the broken outer wall of the shelter before yelling at Martin to evacuate Feast. There's no sense in risking collateral damage. Now the people are being taken care of, Spidey finally spots Anti-Venom. Eddie tries to explain that he's not a villain, but Peter talks over him. Lee leads the feast inhabitants to his office, sealing the door with a titanium slab and bringing up a screen. They can watch the exterior to see when it's safe to leave. May points out that this is surprisingly hefty technology for a homeless shelter, but he brushes her off, needing to call 999 to try and get some help. Back in the fight, Venom and Spidey both end up tackling Anti-Venom to the ground at once. Spidey wants this new symbiote to leave, but both Eddie and Venom insist this has to be between them. Venom mentioning Eddie's name is enough for Spidey to guess who Anti-Venom is, but before he can react, both symbiotes punch him away at once. Their combined strength is enough to knock Spider-Man high into the air, the wall crawler landing with a thud on a nearby rooftop. The two Venoms laugh at that, sharing a brief moment of friendship before they go back to wrestling, eager to beat each other into the dust. Above, the Thunderbolt's mobile command ship, the Zeus, closes in on the area, ready to contain the fight. Spidey is happy to leave the two super strong villains to brawl for a while. They'll weaken each other up for him. He's even got time to set up his camera. Eddie yells at Mac, warning him that the symbiote will ultimately kill him. He's convinced now that it was the alien goo that gave him cancer. Gargan doesn't buy it, but Eddie isn't giving him a choice. He's got a handle on his powers now, and the white Anti-Venom symbiote burns the original just with a touch. Frightened, Venom picks up a car and throws it at Anti-Venom, screaming at him to stay away. Eddie's convinced that his powers are working. He bats the car away, proud that he can save Mac Gargan's life. But then he looks to his side. He accidentally threw the car right at an old man. There's no way he can dodge in time. But how many times have I told you Tuesday's alternate side of the street parking? Bad Eddie. Eddie's shocked that Spidey saved that guy. Spider-Man gets back to his feet, trying to make it clear he didn't want to interrupt this fight. But Eddie and Mac are now both closing in on him. The two squabble briefly over who gets to punch Spidey first. Spider-Man joins the banter, but then throws out an offer to Eddie. They're on better terms thanks to Spidey saving that guy. They can team up to take down Venom, and Eddie doesn't need to be told twice. He throws the first punch at Mac, while Spidey starts firing webs at Venom to restrain him. They catch his feet, cover his eyes, and set Anti-Venom up to punch the original into the ground with one enormous fist. All his bravado gone, Venom begs Eddie to stop, claiming he's killing the symbiote. But Spidey grabs Mac from behind, holding Venom still and setting up for Eddie to finish using his powers. Anti-Venom's happy to do just that, stretching his hand into a massive claw and piercing Gargan right through the chest. Venom screams as the symbiote burns away, but Spider-Man doesn't let go. He's happy to say good riddance to one of his most persistent and deadly foes. Peter's camera keeps clicking away, snapping pictures as Eddie drains the last remains of the symbiotes off of Gargan. The new Venom's lost his connection to the alien parasite, muttering that he'll kill Eddie for this. Spidey's not convinced this'll change Mac. He was a jerk even without the symbiote. Eddie's more hopeful. He likes to think he was a good man before he became Venom. And Spider-Man. Spidey doesn't need to use his spider sense to know something's wrong.
All of my problems with you happened after you were infected by it too. What if?
Before Spidey can escape, Anti-Venom turns to him. Eddie can sense the traces of the symbiotes in Spider-Man's body too. Before Peter can pull away, Anti-Venom's claws jab into him. Eddie tries to get his new friend to calm down. He's just trying to heal him.
Wait, what's this? Your blood's tainted too. It's irradiated. Why don't we clean that up as well?
Peter squirms, trying to free himself before Eddie cures him of his Spider-Man powers. He's able to start pulling tendrils away, but Anti-Venom slams him into the ground, holding him tight.
Take it easy, friend. This will all be over soon.
But this is when Mac Gargan's teammates, the Thunderbolts, move in. Songbird and Radioactive Man descend from the air while ground troops run to Mac, picking him up and loading him onto the Zeus. Anti-Venom wheels. He's not done curing Venom yet. He drops Spidey, ready to fight the Thunderbolts to get his patient back. Songbird and Radioactive Man were both ready for this though. They'd expected their Venom to go rogue. They know how to fight a symbiote. The alien parasites have two weaknesses: fire and sound. Radioactive Man can ignite the air around Anti-Venom, while Melissa's sonic blasts weaken him. Somehow though, Anti-Venom powers through it all. Neither of those even slowed this new type of symbiote down. Eddie goes on the offensive against the T-Bolts, desperate to retrieve Gargan. Songbird tries to order her team to fall back, but the sight of wanted fugitive Spider-Man makes her pause. She has to try and bring him in. Radioactive Man, meanwhile, is doing badly against Eddie.
Radioactive Man, your powers make you radioactive? You're probably giving people cancer all the time. So? Rah!
Spidey's able to keep up with Songbird, dodging her sonic constructs, but drawing close to Anti-Venom weakens his powers, letting the government hero finally land a hit. Anti-Venom has Radioactive Man on the ropes, but Spidey's continuing to do badly against Melissa, her next sonic punch throwing him across the streets.
Spider-Man, let me help you with...
No, enough with the helping already! Ultimately, Spidey manages to get off a web shot, temporarily blinding Songbird and giving him a chance to swing away from the fight. Anti-Venom calls at him to stop. He still has to cure Spidey's radioactive blood, but before he can go after Peter, Norman Osborn orders the Thunderbolts to pull out. Songbird has Radioactive Man safe, Gargan's already on the Zeus, and they're all ready to leave. Anti-Venom hesitates, but getting rid of the symbiotes is his main priority. He swings off, after Osborn and the T-Bolts. And hey, maybe Anti-Venom has a point. Look at what the symbiote would do to Spider-Man's family if it got the chance.